Hey there, and welcome to Yosemite Valley Aquatic House, a series within the series. Today, we are going to build an aquatic house in Planet Zoo and in my ongoing Yosemite Valley project. I'm very thankful that you guys tuned in again, and this is the start of the Risky project. So first of all, before we jump into the build, and I'm going to explain a little bit more, thank you so much, as always, for supporting me on this channel and, for just being such an awesome bunch of people watching me building digital zoos, which is still very impressive that people like it so much. But in case you want to help me and support the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I really do know that it can be annoying at sometimes, to just mention it all the time, but I still see the data, guys. I still see it. There are many people that watch this ongoing, like multiple times a month, and still haven't subbed yet. So in case you want to help, this really would help me a lot if you guys would help me reach 50k soon. Really going for that. I really would love to see this because this is one of those big milestones I was always going for after I decided that I kind of accepted that I was a YouTuber, and this would mean the world to me. So yeah, that would be awesome if you would decide to just click that button. And as I always say, just turn that bell off and whatever. You don't need to be annoyed by all the notifications, but it would be amazing if you just support the channel by adding your sub. That would be awesome. And now let's focus on the actual build. So this first episode is not featuring an animal, just saying. You potentially have seen that from the thumbnail. And we're going to start with the boring stuff, but at the same time with the awesome stuff. We are going to build the overall backstage area of this water system, I want to call it. It's going to be an aquatic house, but it's going to be really realistic by the means of this zoo. As Yosemite is said to be very realistically focused on making it believable, but at the same time, I still leave some space for interpretation, let's put it that way, and just kind of make it in a way that it still works as a game, and I can just let my creativity run wild, if you know what I mean. So that said, we are starting in this episode with making sure that this river over here has a very different shape now. The reason why I do this, and I talked about this in my update video a few weeks ago, so for those of you who listened to that, they know it already. I wasn't really in particular happy with how the river was set in this project. I mean, I put it down like a year ago, not like literally a year ago I started with this project. So I think it definitely is very much needed to say that, I did it on purpose back then, but since I had not the whole zoo already in my mind, it kind of appeared to be a bit wrong. And so what I do now is I make this whole area a little bit more open over here, so that this center area looks a bit more like a lake, and that the aquatic house will actually be sitting on the lake side and not on the river side. And then there is kind of a very thin gap where we will have, a bridge sitting. And this bridge basically will be the separation of the two parts of the lake and the river that goes into the actual second part of the zoo, which is then filled by the big waterfall that is sitting to the left-hand side to our grizzly project. Now, let's talk about the fact that I am building a non-functioning cosmetic backstage area for a aquatic house that is non-functioning and fully cosmetic, and just because I can. I know it's quite a big bet to fill in such a big gap in this zoo, and also to focus so much on this thing, putting my time and effort in, even being very much aware that there won't be an animal for that available. I will go and build this completely loose from any restrictions that the game offers. So I will build the tanks and stuff completely without the system of the game in mind. And I decided to do so because I very much think if Frontier is going to add aquatic animals, and we are not talking about like making bears dive, we are talking about the likes of sharks, the likes of seals, the sea lions, these kind of animals which like mainly live in and underwater. And as much as I would love to see this very soon in the game, I think it requires a complete overhaul of the system. The way habitats and barriers work in the game right now, and I will make a video dedicated just to that, the way it works right now in the game is not really the way that I think it is working for the aquatic animals. So I'm really sure that if Frontier decides to do that, they will change the system quite a bit. And since I have no idea what they would do, and I have absolutely, like, I have an idea if I would be doing it, you know, and having the foundation the game has right now, I would assume a way they would do it, which I will discuss in this dedicated video. But you know, I'm just kind of, to make sure that I don't do anything restricted over here, I'm just completely fully going loose, okay? So the next couple of episodes, you can expect me building a aquatic house with the tools available in Planet Zoo as of September 2020, without any restrictions that I would think would be there in the game, because we won't put any animals in. Full stop. So that said, it really offers a whole new world to me. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted a new creative challenge, and we go really into detail. For those of you who have been sitting in my streams already, they've seen quite a bit of it. So we are already in episode 3, if you will, of my builds. We finished already the top layer of what you see today, and we've basically also finished the basic layout of this whole thing. So there's quite a lot coming in the next coming days. I have recorded a little bit already, so you can expect that to be very much ongoing and a steady upload rate, because I also needed to buy myself some time. For some of you, you might still be waiting for a certain secret project. I'm making good progress on that, but you know, I won't release it until I'm fully happy with it, and I'm not. So that's gonna take a few more weeks, unfortunately, but I'm gonna buy myself some time right now. I'm just telling you that this secret project I'm doing is unlike anything you've seen from Planet Zoo. It's totally new. It's amazing, and I can't wait to share it with you. But again, I only will share it if it's totally fine and completely done. By the way, Charlotte, if you're watching, this is only for you right now over here. I promise I'll mention that, but I'm not going to go any much more deeper in it, even though if I'm quite sure you would like it. So let's continue with wood building. So this backstage area here, and now as we go into detail, I can finally talk about this. This backstage area, as you can see, is featuring a certain water system. Now, let's talk a bit more about the requirements that we would have here. So this overall lake over here is not salt water. This is obviously a lake fed by some waterfalls that mostly come from the mountains. So that is actually non-salted water, or sweet water, I would say. So in this term, we don't have, like, unlike in Isla Napali, where I built a desalination plantage, or, you know, factory, or however you want to call that, this time around, it's the exact opposite. So in case if we want to have some saltwater animals, we would actually need to change the water. Funny stuff, though, that the game never had this option, though, that we do have saltwater crocodiles in the game, but we don't need to change it, because standing waters are mostly non-saltwater areas. However, this little thing over here, which is turning out to be a great thing, is actually here for making sure that we do have this in place. I'm not, like, I have no idea how this would actually work. I'm just putting a lot of stuff together to make it look a bit more fancy and have some pipe work going on, because again, I use the in-game pipes to just have the water movement and just kind of at least somewhat realistic stuff, you know. This also sets already this, you know, the color scheme of it, which is a bit unfortunate. I would have loved to go away from this bluish tint, but you know, since this piece is not recolorable, Frontier, if you're listening, can we just have it flexi-color? Thank you. Okay, so that's the reason why I didn't change the color and just went with this, like, slightly bluish tint. And you know, it's just, yeah, the way I wanted to go there. And obviously made a lot of drainage stuff to make sure the water can, you know, just easily go run in here. And because it's pretty much a wet space, and you won't do anything else on the ground that is, you know, not good together with water. And then we just did the ceiling. So you can really see it was a super intricate and detailed build. I would have loved to not put the soil on top already, but I needed to somehow get an idea of the dimensions of this build and how low the ceiling had to be. So yeah, quite a few things I needed to just check, and yeah, that's basically what it turned out to be. I used some plaster pieces. Who would have guessed, you know? I'm quite sure that the plaster is by far the most used item in the game, at least by me, but I've seen, you know, I think there's barely anyone who can live without the plaster. It's like such a versatile piece, because it basically is used whenever you need to fill some gaps in architecture. You're using this piece, because the texture is just so forgiving, in a very good way. It's a very very subtle one, and yet has some cool texturing in it. So it's not like super flat. It's way better than the art pieces, because the art pieces are glossy and flat. This one is a bit more matte, and yet has a colored kind of texture to it. So it definitely works as concrete, but it also works obviously as plaster. It can actually work as normal like stucco. So it's really versatile. Talking about versatility, this opaque glass over here does also work like a pretty nice floor, and it's fun. In the live stream, we talked about the fact that this would be pretty slippery. You know, we're just working a lot with water over here. So at the end, I ended up using this carpet over here, which ended up looking like a rubber pad, and I love that, because this is what you would technically have there anyways in an aquatic house. And so I'm using this quite a lot more often throughout this building as like the little pathing for the staff members whenever there is also like a little bit of a kind of connection, a gutter, or like whatever you have to the certain tanks. We will talk about in the next episodes quite a bit, because there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of realism way would put this in, and you know, it's gonna be very interesting to talk about that, because I really think that whenever Frontier is going to add this, we will see a whole bunch of new mechanics in the game. And I thought about this a lot while building this. You can see all these pipeworks thingies here on top. I think it really adds a layer of realism here, which I really was looking for. And also some of the Australian pieces came in very handy as these wonderful scrap metal pieces. No, scrap metal, that's the wording, whatever I said there, are showing. So it's kind of cool that we can use it. And now the last bit of today's episode will be pretty much detailing in here, and oh boy, that was a lot of fun. I know it was really late in the stream, I was getting freaking tired, but you guys in the chat and everyone else helping out on there, it was kind of a busy chat, which I loved. Really helped out a bunch by just giving all these info and all these tips and tricks and stuff. And so I think we created a very nice looking interior area. I'm really happy about what we did there. And at some point I just figured, you know, that this back wall over here needs some pipe work as well, just to make sure that this all kind of looks a bit more like as it is really backstage. You can see that having some pipes coming from the right and left, and just having some on the roofs, it just kind of gives you a better idea of what is going on. And then people also said that we need some kind of signage here, some like danger signs and stuff. So I decided to make one with an exclamation mark myself. I know that we have one in the game, as I will be showing right now, but the thing is, it's all a bit too big, and I wanted to go it, just one bit smaller, and yeah, also make this kind of recycle. I think it kind of just shows like a circle, so I was like, that could work as in a water refreshment system or something like that, you know. So this was kind of cool. And since I figured I needed to hide away this piece, I just put a metal little box over here, which easily could be like the generator or something, like the energy that we need. I don't know, I'm just putting that in, and I think it just kind of looks cool. And then of course I was starting to add all these pieces required to make this all look good, just covering up some of the bottom parts here that's sticking out with the terrain. I mean, I could have just changed the terrain, but at this point in time, there was already way too much pathing done and stuff. So I was like, you know, we can just easily hide that away without having too many issues. And then, yeah, the last bits we're adding is basically a note board. And there is this wonderful new piece in the game that is just helping a lot with this. I'm not even sure how this exactly is called. But it's just so cool, because it's this like typical meeting room, kind of staff room material that you have where everyone is pinning on. You know, there are some of the images that some of the kids from one of the members of the zoo has brought in. You know, whenever one of the staff members brought their daughter or their son with them and they just drew an animal, they would pin it to this wall. You know, just having a very weird yellowish shark which is smiling at us would be one of those things. And yeah. So I was just putting some light switches in as well, getting the mechanic in to have a reference of the size, and just doing some basic fixes here and there. Twitches? No, I was fixes. And what's the other word? Tweaks. That's wording. What? I was trying to mix tweaks and fixes, which made twitches, which is weird. Whatever. Don't listen to me, okay? So yeah, we need to have some shutters over here. Mainly the reason why I put them in is I figured if the sun would shine directly on these glass walls and you have all the pipe work behind that, it could potentially get pretty hot in there. And even though the water needs to be heated a little bit, it just doesn't need to be boiling hot, and you don't want to have like wasting your energy or whatnot. So I guess at the end of the day, it's better to have at least some shutters to be manually put up and down in order to have kind of a heat regulation going on in this building. You know, it doesn't mean that you just have them shut down at all times, but you could necessarily do them down. Put them down. But you can see really it just kind of starts to look good. Speaking of heat, I had this idea at the beginning, but then people in the chat were starting to moan about the fact this roof didn't look good. I kind of agree, so I ended up not having that, and instead we kind of created a little metal walkway over here, and I think that was the best idea we had, or basically the chat had, to be honest. I have to just give that to the chat, who was basically giving the idea of yeah, using these pieces to make like a little walkway that goes around here, and also make like an entrance for the staff members, which is a bit of a weird thing. We do have this entrance now there. It's not like super much connected, but yeah. So that's the end of today's episode. We'll now look at one of the screenshots, how it looks lit up, because I did this without recording, did some lighting. You can see it's looking pretty badass in nighttime. And so, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. According to the little survey, I leave my end card in, so all the infos about subbing and membership and stuff will come now. And, well, my voice went up a little bit too much. Enjoy your day. Watching this video, I really do appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I was really happy to have you here. In case you enjoyed it and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to consider subscribing. You can do it via this button here, and if you want to see more, there's some cool other stuff linked here for you. This is suggested for you personally. That's pretty cool. And in case you want to support the channel a tiny bit more, you can do it via this wonderful Hype Camel link over here. I really would appreciate it. And also big thank you already to all the people who do already support the channel. Really do appreciate that. But now have a wonderful time, guys, and I catch you in the next one.